Okay, we've got an example of a bit key drawn here. The bow is the same as a flat key. The shank is rounded instead of being flat like a flat key. You've got your shoulder to prevent the key from going into the lock too far. You've got your post down here that fits and pivots on the other side of the lock. You've got your ward cuts that are cut across the key to a pre-described depth, and it prevents other keys from entering the lock. And you've got your lever cuts that work the 3 to 4 levers inside the lock to prevent other keys from working. You can see your ward groove cut here. This is the key turned on in, and the length of the bit and your post. Now let me show you some examples of some bit keys. First one is a bit key that has a ward cut in it, and it's got 3 levers on the inside of the lock. And here's your shoulder, your shank, and your bow. Pretty common. Next key does not have any wards cut in it, as you can see from the end, but it has multiple lever cuts in the bit and no shoulder. This key was primarily used for the call boxes on police boxes that were on the telephone poles where they could call in from the street. One side it only went in one way. Next key is another example of a bit key. It's got a ward cut in it. The cuts for the levers. It's a typical house lock. Next example is a skeleton key of a bit key. It doesn't have any lever cuts, but it's got cuts for the wards. And typically will work in about 80% of the door locks that it's tried in. It's a little bit thinner on the end for that, so it'll pass the wards that are cut on the side. Next key is a bit key, but the wards are cut in the side with no levers. It'll fit in either side of the door. You can see how the wards are cut symmetrical on both sides so that you can put the key in either way. Next key is a bit key. It's in the barrel family of the bit keys. It's got a hole drilled in the end. The post fits in there, and it's been molded so that it'll fit wards on either side. This particular key has not been cut yet. It's a blank. The older blanks like this are incredibly hard to get. Next key is a barrel key with a ward cut in it. It's not symmetrical. You have to put it in right side up. It's a 6 lever, both sides. This particular one was made by the Ames Sword Company. Another barrel key, quite a bit larger. Hole in the end. These are commonly used on railroad locks for the railroad companies. You notice this barrel key has been forged with an angle in it. The different railroad companies did this so that they had proprietary keys that they only fit their lock and nobody else could get the key. Last key is a small barrel key, small hole in the end. You'll notice that the bit is offset to one side. This again is they were making so many keys and so many different locks, they had to do something different to the bit to keep keys from fitting into the same lock. You also notice that this is a blank. These blanks of these old locks are incredibly hard to come by. They're no longer manufactured, so if you find them at flea markets or trade shows or swap meets, you need to pick them up. Keep them in your lock shop. This makes you a complete lock shop so that you can make keys for just about anything that comes in. Now we're on to our cylinder keys.